Welcome back. Chicago police have arrested 4 African Americans who went live on Facebook torturing a mentally disabled white man while yelling anti-white and anti-Trump statements. Discussions of the video and who is to be blamed for the actions of these suspects has become controversial as they face charges, including aggravated kidnapping, hate, crime, aggravated unlawful restraint, and aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. A judge denied bail on Friday for the 4 suspects in the live torture video. Joining us in a discussion, we welcome defense attorney Alexander Sanchez and founder of Black Lives Matter Greater New York, Hawk Newsome. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Good to be here. Thank you for having us.
It's definitely an emotional subject. First of all, we see the young people here on the screen, and for them to do this to someone who is supposed to be their friend, I mean, it's uncalled for, and I'm guessing that a lot of people didn't expect the judge to give them bail. What do you all think about that?
It's an egregious case in its own right, but once you put something on video, you magnify the serious nature of this case by, like 100 times. Mm-hmm. And so these kids are in serious trouble. They created evidence against themselves by videotaping it. You're attacking a disabled person. You're making all kinds of racial comments. You're physically hurting the people. You're trying to engage in extortion and kidnapping. These kids are in serious trouble. There's very little defense in this case. Nobody's going to be running to their defense. There is no group that's going to. I don't think any of the charges. A matter of fact, I think it's likely that the district attorney who prepares the charges is likely to file as many charges as they possibly could. You have kidnapping, then you have possible extortion. You have possession of a weapon, you have assault. All these charges are independent charges. So they could be charged on each of those charges and get consecutive time. They're facing up to 50 years. Mm-hmm. I think it's very likely these kids are going to jail for a good 10, 11 years. That would be my supposition in this case.
And that's the thing. Do we look at them as kids, or can we say that these adults knew what they were doing, planned this act, this hate act against this young man?
They're 18 years old. People go to war at 18. People vote at 18. At 18, you could be held criminally liable and face the same penalty as someone that's older. So these kids are facing the same type of charges as anybody else that is in a similar situation. But the fact that they put it on video, I've seen worse crimes. I've represented people that have committed much more egregious offenses against other people. But once you put it on tape, all the systems are going to work against you. You got the judges, and you got the district attorney. The judge, for example, as far as I'm concerned, the judge made did something grossly improper here, which people really didn't notice. When they went before the court, the judge made a statement. How could you have engaged in such behavior? He already found these kids guilty. Now, they may be guilty, but at least have a trial, have a judgment, or have a jury issue a ruling that they're guilty. But as soon as you're appearing before a judge, and for the judge basically to say you're guilty, how could you have done this, is almost unbelievable to me. And I know there's a lot of people in the general public that basically support what that judge said, but I'm interested in fairness in the criminal justice system, and that was unfair.
Mm-hmm. And I want to go to some of the sayings that people are saying that the Black Lives Matter movement was behind this. What do you have to say about that?
Well, you have to recognize the part that the media plays in this. The media has a job to do, and that's to make racist white people feel comfortable in being racist. Yes, we have 4 black teenagers who intimidated and brutalized this special needs person. I'm with you on that. There's no excuse for what they did, but to tie them to the Black Lives Matter movement is appalling, for the simple fact that these are kids who made some comments during the commission of a crime, charged them with a hate crime, but to say that they're representative of Black Lives Matter is obscene. The fact of the matter is, there was a young man who was found guilty, who pled to a lesser charge on December 20th. For an assault. However, him and 3 of his white teammates molested another black teenager with a coat hanger. And this man did not receive jail time. This was in Idaho. The attorney general let him plead to a lesser charge, crimes just as egregious to a person with special needs, but you didn't hear about that. All you hear about is how bad little poor black children are. And you want to tie them in to the Black Lives Matter movement, let's tie those kids into the KKK. They sang KKK songs while they molested this young black kid. There are two sides to the criminal justice system. A side where white people go free and get slaps on the wrist, and a side where black people are sent away to jail forever and criminalized in the media. The KKK was founded in 1860. It's not just a hate group, it's an American institution. They just endorsed a president. And we sit idly by and let this happen. But anytime they can connect make any connection from Black Lives Matter to an act of some ignorant, I feel sorry for them, poor black person who did something really stupid, they do that. However, they don't tie the acts of every white person to the KKK.
Aladin, do you think that they're going to be treated more harshly than their white counterparts who may be their age or may be just as young?
Well, I'm not familiar with the case that Hawk just referred to, and I don't believe whatever he referred to, I don't think is on tape. But I think anybody on tape caught committing an offense like this is going to be treated very harshly. So if it was reversed and there were whites, or excuse me, there were, let's say 4 whites committing an offense against a black individual in a similar type situation, they would be treated very harshly too. I think most sensible people agree that this is horrific and that these people should pay. And as far as what Hawks has to say, I mean, I don't know what connection there is between Black Lives Matter and this group other than a bunch of right-wing fanatics on the internet trying to draw a connection. But aside from that, I've seen no evidence whatsoever. I'm not aware that Black Lives Matter supports this type of behavior.
They use Facebook Live as like you said, they taped it on Facebook Live, they aired it. Do you think that Facebook has to take any responsibility in this? Do you think that maybe it was, I don't want to say it's a good thing that we have Facebook Live because then we have the evidence behind this hateful act. But what do you think Facebook's responsibility is?
I don't know how you could blame Facebook. I mean, it's a technology company. And it sounds like it's a legitimate type of technology. They're not advocating violence. They're not advocating people commit crimes and put it on Facebook. Somebody took advantage of this technological event and they put it on Facebook. And I understand Facebook does have monitors, and if they are alerted to this type of event, then they would put a stop to it. I don't know if they should put a stop to it because, like you said, they're collecting evidence, and this evidence is going to be used against them when they go to court, and it should be used against them.
Is there any reason that it wouldn't be used against them?
There is an instance in Baltimore where a young lady barricaded herself in her home. She was a Black Lives Matter activist, and the police her name was Corinne Gaines, okay? And the police had harassed her because of her involvement in Black Lives Matter. And she was on Facebook Live telling her side of the story and explaining why the police were outside of her door, how they had been threatening her. And Facebook had cut the feed. And just to touch back on what you said about things being on tape, Eric Garner's death was on tape. That cop went free. Philando Castile's death was on tape. Alton Sterling, his death was on tape. When it's a black person on tape, we can bet our sweet behinds that they'll feel the fury of this criminal justice system. But when it's a white person, they still have a fair chance. Let's address what's at the core of this: a racist criminal justice system. This is what we're dealing with. And I am in favor of Facebook Live. Me and my team, we go live all the time, and that's because Facebook is a way for us to get our words out. Okay, corporations run the news. Media companies are biased, as we've seen in the way they cheated for Hillary Clinton. Okay, as we've seen time after time again, the media is biased. Okay, so Facebook and social media is our only way to get our message out. So we can't take social media away from our people, because as far as this movement goes, this movement we're working on, this revolution, this fight back against the system, it's our most vital tool.
Talk about some of the ways that you're going out to the youth to prevent crimes as this one.
Well, there was a march that we had called the Mission to End the Violence out in Brooklyn. We work with the family of Tiara Poyu. That was the young lady who was killed at Juve. We were with the family of Anthony Nazaire. That was the kid from Brooklyn who was killed up at Cornell University. We are working with different groups to bring peace to our community. We have a schedule of community town hall meetings where we can gather data and try and really analyze and come up with a plan to impact the violence in our communities. But more importantly, we're in the school. We're talking about building positive self-esteem. We're having these kids work on our Black Lives Caucus, which is a movement to build a black vote here in New York City. And that's a march that's coming up on this Saturday, January 14th. What we're doing is teaching our kids how to be positive, how to fight back against the system, how to use their talents to the best of their abilities. And at the core of it, we're giving them something to do that's positive, that'll hopefully deter them from engaging in the negative in their community.
Alexander, any final thoughts on this case?
It was just interesting listening to Hawk saying that with how important it is to have Facebook, because he can't, it's impossible for certain people to get the message out to the media. It kind of reminds me of Trump saying, I need to go to Twitter because I can't get my message out to the general public because the media is very biased. So I think that's a very legitimate point. But I think just from a criminal point of view, and I'm looking at this as a criminal defense attorney, it's going to be very challenging in this particular case for any defense attorney to provide a defense which is going to result somehow in the exoneration of these individuals or in a very diminished type of sentence. For whatever reason, whether it's based on racism or whether it's based upon the tape or whether it's based upon the crime itself, these kids are in trouble and they're going to jail.
Do you believe that they deserve the maximum amount of time?
I have a 13-year-old nonverbal autistic child, okay? And for them to do that to a person who has special needs in the sense that he's mentally ill, I really don't see a difference. I think that they should be punished. I'm for alternatives to incarceration, but so I say, if you're going to send them to jail, make sure that they get the therapy that they need. Let's really, truly seek to rehabilitate these people instead of just punish them.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I really appreciate you
Pleasure
being
to
here.
be here.
Thank you. We have to take a break, but when we return, we'll discuss President Obama's goodbye speech to America, among other topics. We'll be right back.